We got Emerald Frog today.
You gotta be careful because the reason there's terrible men consistently dating, consistently getting baddies is because they're doing all the right things. They're doing all the right things. So for you, if you're watching this and
Okay, so let me get this straight. The bad guys, the ones that are doing the bad things, that are getting you guys, you're saying that they're doing the right things. Why are you guys falling for this if it's the wrong thing? Make that make sense. Let's see what kind of gaslighting we're going to experience now.
you're a man, you're like, I can't get a first date, I can't get a second date, but I don't want to pay for women and they're all gold diggers and this and that and they got to prove to me. Listen, I'm going to be honest with you. The reason you're not getting the dates and you're a good guy, whatever, and these not
And she says, you're a good guy, whatever. Amazing.
so great guys are getting the dates is because they're doing the right things. They're making the plans, they're paying for the dinners, they're picking her up, they're opening the doors. These things do matter. And I don't know why.
So the surface level shit matters, but the real deal doesn't. Aren't you basically just admitting that you're shallow? Isn't that the message in this? Someone please correct me in the comments if I'm misinterpreting this, but I'm pretty sure I got it right.
I don't know why men are like, no, this isn't the way it is. Because where's that getting you? If you want to date women, if you don't want to date women, don't worry about it. But it sounds like you want to go on dates. You want a woman in your life. So if you wanted that, you got to put in the effort.
So what you're trying to argue now is in order to get a woman, you should be fully okay to essentially sell your soul, even if it's against what you principally believe in. Let's be honest, this is as clear cut as it gets. There are obviously going to be physical requirements that you have to meet up to in order to access women. There is no escaping this. I know a lot of guys want to cope, of course, but there's no way around this. If you want to have the best chance, you have to be able to bypass all of the bare minimum requirements to the point that it does not affect you. If you want to stand on principle, that's fine. I understand that, but you're very unlikely to get the girl that you actually want. You're always going to have to pay to play to some degree. Now, obviously, a lot of guys have a problem with this because it begs the question. If I have to pay for it, is it genuine? It just circles back to the same point I make all the time. Unconditional love is not possible. We are humans, not deities. Therefore, we cannot love in a godly manner because we ourselves are not God. This, of course, is if you go down the religious path. But then again, if you really care about that path, follow the rules exactly to a T, go to the meeting place of that particular religion, find somebody that also follows the rules to the T, and play out that act for the rest of your life. If you don't want to do that entirely, then welcome to the jungle. You're going to have to show some proof of concept. It's just the way it is. The easy way to bypass this, go for someone that's far below your level. That may seem controversial, of course, but you always have to pay one way or the other in all forms of currency, not just money. All right, today we got Judy coping.
Some girls might disagree with me, but I used to think that because I have a very dominant, assertive personality, that I would want a man who was more dominant and more assertive than I am. But I realized quickly that actually it's the men who are a little bit more, I don't want to say soft, but very gentle, but still assertive enough. Those are the type of men that we need to be with.
Okay, so let me translate that absolute nonsense for you, because we hear all of these random, subjective, infinitely possible variables that girls talk about that aren't even real. So the translation is this. I was unable to acquire a man that I deemed good enough to be submissive to, so I decided to go for the control path and just settle with the other guy. Let's keep going.
Because when you are dating a man who is just as dominant, if not more than you are, you guys will start competing for dominance. And it just doesn't work. There has to be some level of the guy being a little bit more passive, maybe. I don't even think passive is the word.
It is the word. It's exactly what you want. You want to control the relationship, therefore you want him to be passive. You want your word to be the last word. The question now, of course, is are you also extremely emotionally volatile? I'd be willing to bet that that's the case. Are the decisions going to be good as a result? It's very rare that good quality decisions come from emotional volatility. This isn't even a theory. This is just absolute fact. Of course, we're getting into a weird territory now because we're talking about identity and you can never tell somebody else how they're supposed to identify, even though a lot of times people blatantly cope about who they are, and then come full circle to eventually just be exactly what everyone else was saying, even though they were coping for years about it. You can never really win in these scenarios because they can always hide behind the plausible deniability of the subjectivity of their identity. Therefore, the only way to really deal with this is to walk away, eat popcorn, and watch from a distance. I've seen countless examples of girls who called themselves hyper dominant that when they end up in the presence of a guy they actually respect, they become submissive. Over and over again, I have seen this. The ones that can't keep it together, they're the ones that eventually settle and say, you know what, this is who I am, I'm gonna go for the softer guy. It's mostly cope, they can't deal with their internal turmoil, so what they're gonna do is they're gonna just find a band-aid fix. We've all seen this happen, let's be honest.
It's truly like, it's a special, unique blend of like, you're assertive enough, but you're gentle and softer in your demeanor and your approach and the way you kind of do life, so that you can allow the girl to just be the firecracker that she is.
I love this. I love it. I love the subjective painting of it. In this fantasy world, everything is possible. You can be the most assertive guy on earth while also being gentle. You can be the most ripped guy in the gym with zero discipline. You can be Jesus Christ incarnate even though you're not God. It's basically an impossible scenario and a fantasy that so many girls are conditioned to believe in that simply does not exist. It's probably a combination of a lot of events in recent history plus some Disney movies and whatever not that led to this. I'm not going to get into that right now, but you get the point.
Because when you have two firecracker personalities, it's just an explosion and not in a good way.
I also love when people talk about personalities like there's some hyper rigid structure that's predetermined and cannot be changed. If you're type A, you can't get along with type C because of this and this and this. It's unironically extremely similar to people talking about horoscopes. I'm a Leo, I don't get along with Pisces. All it is an excuse to not have to change and to not have to acquiesce, aka not wanting to submit. Instead of addressing the root problem, essentially this girl's theory is to go find somebody else that's equally as broken as you are, but in the opposite way. And then that way you guys can be broken together. It's sort of like the concept of trauma bonding, but maybe I wouldn't go as far as that. Anyway, at this point, I'm convinced that people will literally do anything but the right thing. Now, let's be honest. I don't know anything about this girl, but the main problem I have is that people always tend to look outward instead of inward. The solution is always external to the self. I'm not going to change myself, but what I will do is find somebody in the world that will accept me for who I am because I'm special and I deserve it. I'm sure if you spend 20 minutes thinking about this, you'll realize there is a lot of people in your life and in your world that do exactly this. And chances are they've probably been getting away with it for years. Anyway, let me know what you think about this in the comments. And while you're at it, don't forget to check my links in the description below.